All right.
Well, good morning, Chad.
Yeah, good morning.
It's awesome to see you. Sorry I missed last week.
Well, it happens.
Kind of got buried.
Yeah.
Got buried. You mentioned earlier about learning patience. I just wanted to make a comment that there's something I've learned, and it's just through my study. It's not anything I've read, but I think patience allows us to exercise faith in a greater power. For you and me, it's God. For
Yeah.
others, it's a higher power, whatever they believe in. But I really think that's what patience is that we're pushed into this spot where we have to be patient for it to kind of work itself out. And
Yes.
I think that's where it pushes us to exercise faith in I'm going to receive some help, some support, some power from
Yes.
a higher source, and in my case and in your case, God. I think that's where we exercise faith in God, and that He plays a huge
Yeah,
part in our lives.
absolutely. If it's the it's so important what is the object of our faith, right? And when we can trust in the God of the universe and believe in all of our heart that he is with us and for us, and there is great peace and I think freedom that comes in such a patience that might be required for whatever is the thing, right? And I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I kind of feel bad for people who don't have that. And when pressed, they're the end of who or what they put their faith in is themselves, or some other thing just seems really, really hard. I mean, it's hard enough as it is, with the Lord on our side, but I don't know. Yes, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and you know, you bring up a great point. It really comes down to how do I put this so that it just makes sense? It makes sense in my head, but you know, we I have never seen God. Okay, I have never seen him. I've never seen the wind.
Right.
But and that's a poor analogy, but it's the one that comes to mind right away. But it's not the seeing, it's the evidence of what's there. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And to your line there, that's a famous Billy Graham line where he says, "I've never seen the wind. I've seen the effects of the wind,
Right.
but I've never seen the wind." And that's exactly what you're saying. We clearly see the evidence of God all over the place in nature, in our circumstances, in
In
whatever, but
everything. Yeah.
but we've never actually seen it.
Yeah, in
Absolutely.
everything. And so I think for me, I know there's people that don't believe in God, and that's fine. I support them in that. That's their thing. But they cannot deny that there's a greater power out there because
Yeah.
the sun's shining. I mean, you think about that for a second. I was at a baseball game for our grandson last night, and I was standing there talking to my son, and I said, "Do you realize the physics involved in throwing a ball to a mitt
Mm,
and the calculations that go on?" And here's a little. They're 9 and 10. This team was 9 and 10, and they were pitching, so it was a fast pitch team. And here's this little 9-year old or 10-year old, I'm not sure which, but he's standing on the mound. He winds up and he throws a ball, and he's fairly accurate to that mitt. And you think of all
mm,
the calculations that go on just with the travel of the ball, the spin of the ball, um, the eye hand coordination, the muscles, all the signals that are coming from the brain to all those little muscles in the eyes, in the arm, in the torso, in the legs, and so forth, just to throw the ball. And then you got the
Mm.
guy catching the ball. He's got to watch that and calculate where the trajectory is to get the mitt in the right place to catch that ball. And then you've got the batter there. He's watching it leave the hand of that pitcher, trying to make a decision of whether to make a swing or
A
not.
complicated motion himself.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
and I just pointed out to him, I said, do you realize all the calculation on that? And he said, I really never thought of that, but it's complex. And the kids, there were a few wild pitches, and that kid made a decision to duck or to jump out or get out of the
Yeah.
way of the ball. But that decision and all that calculation of where's this thing coming? Well, it's coming at me. Well, I've got to get out of the way. All those little signals going to the muscles going, hey, you got to react to this. I need my foot to arch, and you just think of all those calculations, and you look at that and you go, that's a miracle.
Mm.
That did not come from just nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a leap to get there.
that
I agree.
that
Yeah.
that doesn't just materialize from nothing.
Mm.
I heard a guy one time. He said, "Life does not come from how did he put it? Non-existence, I think, or non-life, or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's life for life." And anyway, to think to think through that, and like I said, some people don't believe in God, and that's cool, but there is a higher power. There has to be. There is life that gives life, and to have all those calculations come out of nothing,
Yeah.
I can't conceive that, and maybe that's my downfall. But anyway.
Well, I read something recently on this idea where the author says you can choose to deny it if you like, but the truth is we live in God's world. And that really struck me because isn't it true, especially in our day and time, with all of the craziness that's going on and the behaviors of people and it's just it's wild. But what it's rooted in, I think, and this is just my opinion, is that people are trying so desperately to find answers for the questions they have, so long as it's not God, so long as it can be, I'm God, or whatever I attribute God to be in my, little world that suits me. I'm going to create all of these other distractions or ideologies or whatever, so long as it's not accepting the reality that we are God's creation, we are his ultimate creation, and we live in his world. It's like, it just seems to me it would be so much easier to accept that than to go through all of the stress and fuss and hardship of fighting it in creating all of these crazy other ideologies and, very self-focused worldviews and things like this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But making that decision, now you accept the responsibility of whatever decision you make. If I accept God, now
Yeah,
I have to accept that responsibility to live like
yeah,
He would want me to. Okay.
right.
If I and what a miracle this is that God, or whatever higher power you believe in, gives you a choice. You can believe in it
Yeah,
or not. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
Okay. I can believe in gravity or not, it doesn't matter, but the consequences are absolute. Okay.
yes, yes,
Okay. I can work with gravity. To fly an airplane, you've got to have gravity.
yeah,
You must. Now, if you
yep,
violate gravity in an airplane, the consequences, they're absolute. Okay.
yes,
Okay. And what a gift that is, that we can make that choice. And I agree with you. Why not accept it and with that though comes that responsibility.
Oh,
Okay, now I have to
yes,
live to that.
yes.
And I
I
think
love that.
sometimes that's what drives the other choice. And I, I'm sounding really self-righteous here. I've made bad choices. I
Mhm.
have chosen to go against God.
Yeah.
I'm first in line. I have chosen to
Yes.
go against God, and the consequences were absolute every
Yeah.
every time. Now, if I follow
Yeah.
God, the consequences are absolute too. I get blessings for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I get the good stuff. On this other side, I may get some good stuff, and I believe that that's because God loves me anyway, and He's patient with me.
Mm.
He has
Exceedingly
trust and
patient.
faith in
Yeah.
me. Okay, I really believe that He has trust and faith in me. It's like, come on, Todd, make a good choice.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that acceptance of that responsibility of having to live, you know, better or whatever it is, in my mind, it's living a higher law, living God's law. But if I accept God, I feel like I have to go there. Now, having said that, here again, it sounds really self-righteous. I'm a huge hypocrite. It's a
Mm.
daily journey for me to try and live up to that standard. But you know what? I'm up to it, and we'll go back to that patience thing. It's a trying thing for me because I'm impatient with myself, but that's where my faith in my God comes, and I have to exercise that. And anyway, man, we kind of got religious today. That's
Hey,
okay. I'm good
that's
with
all part
that.
of it for sure. Yes, I love it. Yeah, our pastor will often say, you there are definitely consequences to how you behave, one way or the other, and you can't have one without the other. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Um, I carry a coin all the time. I've got a coin here. I'll show it. I got to find it here. It's in my drawer. There it is. Ta-da. Anyway, I carry a coin in my pocket all the time, but what's interesting is you can't see both sides of the coin at the same time. I mean, you can see the side, but
Yeah.
you can't see both sides. And I carry that coin in my pocket to remind me that there's two sides to everything. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, and I say that tongue in cheek because there's a couple of things I don't think there are two sides to. Okay. And the belief that I have and that I follow, there are two things, and I've already talked about one, and that's consequences. Consequences, and I think they're tied together, but consequences are tied to truth, and truth stands all on its own. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There's no two sides to truth. Now there is falsehood. I I accept that. Okay, but that's not the other side of truth. Truth
Mm.
is truth is truth.
Truth is truth. Yes.
Okay, does that
Agreed.
make sense?
100%. Yes.
Okay, falsehood is not the other side of truth. Truth is truth, and it sits in its own. I imagine it just sitting in its own sphere. Just
Mm.
kind of
Yeah.
all on its own. Okay, and I believe this is my belief is that God is so good at living truth that that's what gives him power to use the consequences of living truth, and that's what gives him his godly powers. He's absolute with that truth.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
follow. Yep.
Okay. And so that applies to you and me too. That if I live truth, those consequences are there. And that's why I say there's two sides to everything, but I really believe there's no two sides to truth and consequences.
Yeah, I like that.
I
That's
I,
good.
I believe they're absolute, and that's my belief. Other people may think otherwise, and that's fine. But for me, it works, and God is in charge of that sphere.
Yeah.
He
Well, I think for,
he's put it there.
yeah, yeah. And going back to what I was saying earlier about the stress and the fuss of creating all of these other ideologies to try to separate us from this truth and reality of living in God's world. To your point, there's incredible freedom and peace that comes with that submission, which in a way kind of irks humanity because we don't like the idea of submission and surrendering ourselves to something else because we think we're ultimate. And it's super counterintuitive, but it's also true, I think. And we've experienced that. I mean, I'm a hypocrite too. I fail at this all the time.
I,
But when
I'm
I
number
know,
one.
I know that when I'm in that place of surrender and acknowledging my place in God's world, there is incredible liberation, freedom, peace, joy, despite circumstance. And I don't know how else you can get that. In fact, I'm certain that you can't.
Well, um, I think it goes into a lot of things, and I'll give you an example. If I eat Doritos and Big Mac, and if I'm eating wrong all the time, and I expect six pack abs and big huge biceps, and if I eat wrong, there is a consequence. If
Yeah.
I eat right, there is a consequence, and it's
Mm,
just tied to it. Okay. And
yeah.
and we get into this mode of, and here again, I'm guilty. You know what? I ran today. I did my 3 miles, and man, I can have that chocolate bar. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I ran the 3 miles. How come I don't have six pack abs? And what we forget is that I'm breaking that rule.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm living the falsehood of thinking that I can eat chocolate because I did this, but also I did this, so therefore I deserve six pack abs. Okay, and we sit here and try and change the rule. Well, not the rules. The rule we can't change, but we try and change the consequences, not living the
Yeah.
rules. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Okay,
Yes.
it's the same in business. Well, I'm just going to put my head down and I'm going to hide in my cubicle, and I don't want to bother anybody, and I don't want them to bother me, but I expect a promotion and a raise next year.
Yeah.
And we sit there and we negotiate this thing, trying to change the consequence of what we know we have to
Yes.
do. If I want a
Yeah.
promotion, if I want a promotion, what do I have to do? I have to show up. I have to improve my skills. I have to innovate. I have to influence, and there
Mm,
are consequences to that. Okay. They're set. But yet we sit here and try and negotiate that in all these facets. My wife knows that I love her. I told her back when we got married that I loved her. And then we expect this beautiful marriage.
yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Okay. That there are, and that's what I mean is truth. Those things are in their own sphere. There's no two sides of it. We can't
Mm,
negotiate it.
yeah.
The consequences are going to be the consequences.
Yeah. That is fantastic. I really like that. It makes me think of an idea I've been wrestling with very recently where um to your point about wanting to change, you can't change the rules, but you want to change the outcomes uh in spite of the rules and get the same outcome, or there's different ways to look at that. Um so for my example here, I've got a group of uh, people that I had expressed interest in learning about healthy eating. And they're like, hey, we've really had a hard time. I can't figure this out. I wondered if you could help me. And the first thing I said to them is, I don't think you're ready for me to help you. And because of what I know of them, they've been trying for years and years to get the outcome by changing the how they respond to the rules.
But
there are
they're
rules.
negotiating the rules, yeah.
Yeah, they're negotiating the rules to healthy eating and expecting this outcome, and that's just not how it works. And so uh, they convinced me to, yes, we want to know these first steps. So will you help us? And I said, of course I will. The first thing that needs to happen is you need to fix your mind
Hmm.
and understand kind of how this works and what the rules are, and have yourself the compelling reason why you want to do this, or else it's not going to stick. And then you can follow the rules as they're meant to be followed. And so I gave them a couple of exercises, and guess what's happened? Crickets. Once people come face to face with the reality of what is required, people all of a sudden become disinterested. They're interested in the moment because they think, I can negotiate these rules, I can get the quick fix, the easy button, whatever. And once they realize that's not how the game is played, it's pretty easy to give up or to continue living in your own negotiated rules and the consequences of that. So anyway, I just thought that was a curious parallel to your comments.
Well, and I started out with faith and patience and God because it really does trickle down to everything. If I don't tie my
Yeah,
shoe tightly, I can't expect my shoe to stay on when I step in the mud.
yeah.
It just won't happen. I can curl my toes. I'm trying to hang on to it with my toes, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
consequence is my shoe's going to be in the mud and I've got to dig for it.
So simple, such a simple concept, and yet here we are making it very difficult.
I'm
Self
first in
included.
line. I'm first
Yeah,
in line. No, this is
yeah.
something I struggle with, but it does help me. And I'm going to go back to that patience thing. It does help me with the patience that, I can step back and go, okay, do I really believe in this? Do I really believe that if I do this thing that I'll get this outcome? Do I really believe? It kind of goes back to which one is it? It's the Indiana Jones where he goes back and gets the chalice. Why can't I think of the name of the movie? Anyway, he has to walk out on that bridge that he can't see.
Oh, yes, yes.
I
Raiders
can't.
of the Lost Ark.
Well, it's not the Lost Ark. It's the other. It's shoot. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's where he has to walk out on that bridge, and he puts his hand on his chest and he goes, "Do I really believe?" And that's
Mm,
really what it comes down to: is do I really
yeah,
believe? So,
yeah. Because we can't see it. That's humanity's issue, is we're trying to force things that we can see and can control to make that be our guide, and that's not how God's world works.
well, and even if we saw it, we would try and justify what happened to it. What we have to do is look for the evidences and let those
Mm,
mount up. And
yeah,
that's truly what makes our belief.
yes.
That's
Yeah,
truly,
you're exactly right, because even Jesus did all kinds of miracles that were well documented, and people still didn't believe it.
yeah,
They were like, well, just show me another sign.
yeah.
Well, the
Doesn't,
signs aren't what convinces you at all.
no, nope.
Yeah,
It's the
very true.
evidences that pile up that make our belief.
Yeah,
And I know I'll get some pushback on that because, well, I can see it. I understand that, but what you're
yeah.
doing is you're collecting the evidence with sight to build on other things.
Hmm.
So, all right. Well, I need to let you go back to work and get ready for the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. This was good. This was good. I like when our mental fitness goes right to the truth, and we talk about God and his word. And I mean, this is where it's at. Mental fitness, I think, begins with this understanding of where we are, who we are, in this world. So thanks for bringing that up today.
Well, you know, it can make us feel small that we're part of something so large.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, we are the big thing that our higher power wants to increase, and it's a very individual thing. And so, are we part of something bigger than ourselves? Absolutely. But I think that bigger than ourselves is to improve us as an individual.
Mm,
It's there to build us, and we have to allow that. And back to your point, it's a mindset.
yeah.
Yes, I'm part of something greater, but that's for my benefit,
Mm, yeah.
not my detriment.
Yeah. God wants us to be better. He made us in his image, and he's constantly doing things in our life, in and around us, to help us to grow and to be better and to prepare us for eternity. And um, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes we make a mess of it.
I just got to get out of my own way and let
Get
it
out of my own
happen.
way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Chad, thank you.
Awesome.
You're awesome. Please have a great week.
Likewise.
How can I
Yeah.
how can I be helpful to you?
Um, just I don't know. Let's keep the momentum. You know, these conversations are great. We don't we don't stir up anything new, but we are reminded of worthwhile things that
Oh,
I think are certainly helpful. So that's what I love about our time.
well, it's very helpful in my accountability to visit with you, and to your point, we need reminding, and so this
Absolutely.
triggers me. So thank you.